Welcome back to Next Level Pets, your home for living the best possible life with your pets and also learning how to heal with purpose after they have left. Today's video is going to be a little different. It's not going to be just a standard bucket list about waiting until your pet gets old or sick. This is about creating a living legacy right now. Because, whether your pet is a playful puppy, or maybe it's a, established kitty in their golden years, or just somewhere beautifully in between. The truth is that the deepest healing often comes from knowing that you truly showed up while they were here. And, research also supports this. Studies in human animal bonding shows us that intentional interaction, physical touch, eye contact, whatever consists of our daily routines, significantly will deepen the attachment and the emotional well-being for both humans and for animals. In fact, interacting with pets has been linked to all sorts of positive, benefits: reduced cortisol levels, increased oxytocin, which is the love and bonding drug, or not drug, hormone, lower blood pressure, and stronger emotional regulation. But beyond science, there's something even deeper. Presence becomes memory, and memory becomes legacy. So today I want to share what I believe is kind of like the ultimate, pet parent bucket list. And not so you can be a perfect pet, and, not for social media attention, not because you may feel guilty about, thinking about the future, but so one day that you can look back and honestly say that we truly lived together. One of the hardest parts of grief is just realizing how many tiny details disappear from memory over time. The sound of their paws on the floor, the rhythm of their breathing, the way they stretched after naps, the specific little noises they made when they wanted food or attention, any bark or meow or sound, wanting to go for a walk, or if they see birds outside the window, anything like that. Our brains tend to remember emotional impressions, but the sensory memories fade surprisingly fast. And this is why I encourage every pet parent to intentionally preserve sensory memories. Not just photos, not just videos, but moments. Record the sound of your dog snoring. Capture your pet purring beside you when you're going to sleep. Take a video where they are just simply existing naturally. Not performing, not posing, but just being themselves. Someday those ordinary moments may become the most sacred things that you have. So here are a few ideas for you to consider as, ideal moments and aspects to catalog and cherish. Maybe record their barking, their purring, or just any happy sounds from their daily routine. You know, any barking when they, you come home, or just how they greet you. Take photos of anything, just, their paws, their nose, how they like to sleep. Maybe make sure to save, certain toys of theirs that have their scent. Write down any funny habits they have, or any phrases, that you guys have in your own animal language. Record them greeting you at the door. And here's something important too. Research in grief psychology shows us that sensory reminders can actually support emotional processing and continuing bonds after loss has happened. So that means that preserving these memories is not holding on too tightly, but it can actually become a part of healthy healing. All right, now let's talk about something many of us struggle with, and that's just distraction. We love our pets deeply, but how often are we fully and truly with them? Without scrolling, without multitasking, without mentally being somewhere else. So here's another challenge. Just 15 minutes a day. No phone, no TV, no agenda, just presence. Just be there with them. Sit on the floor with them, or go, outside and play in the yard. Just observe them, be with them, interact with them slowly, and watch how they communicate. Because animals live, in the present naturally. And one of the greatest gifts that they offer back to us, is an invitation back into our own lives. Studies have shown that mindful interaction like this with pets will reduce, anxiety, and it can also just improve your overall emotional grounding. And honestly, your pet doesn't, care about much else. They don't care about expensive gifts or, any stresses in your day. What they want most is you. Okay, and so this next part might actually become, some memory that you treasure the most. Okay, so every pet has something that lights them up. Maybe it's a specific toy, a specific park, a car ride, just, a certain, nap spot, maybe a certain place where they watch, birds through the window, certain hiking trails. Our dogs likes to steal our socks, chasing bubbles, knocking pens off the desk, whatever it is, find that thing and turn it into a ritual. Not someday, not when life slows down, but do it now, because rituals create emotional anchors. And emotional anchors become some of the strongest memories that we carry after loss. Maybe, I don't know, make a signature adventure idea like, a sunset walk, a Saturday morning pup cup. If your cat's an outdoor cat, maybe cat stroller adventures. Or one of my favorites is a yearly photo in the same location. Maybe it's a reading ritual where you put the phone down and you're just reading with them next to you every night. Maybe it's an adventure day once a month, whatever that means to you. Maybe it's just going outside and looking at the stars at night. Maybe it's letting an older dog kind of choose the pace and path of their walk. Maybe create a fun obstacle course, or pet playground with random items you have at home. Whatever it is, just get creative. Get silly and have fun with this, because research in animal enrichment consistently shows that novelty, sensory engagement, and bonding activities just improve animal well-being and reduce stress behaviors. But emotionally, these rituals help us too, because they transform ordinary life into shared meaning between us and our pets. And this may be one of the most healing things that you could ever do. It's starting a memory journal. One person left a comment and shared that they keep what they call a joy journal, which has honestly a much better ring than memory journal. And every day, just write one small thing down that your pet did that made you smile. And that's it. Maybe their weird sleeping position, the dramatic zoomies, the way they stared at you while you were eating, how they comforted you after a long or hard day. Just whatever the tiny moments, the tiny memories that over time they become evidence of a beautiful life, a beautiful and well-lived life together. One of our community members once shared that keeping a journal after losing their pet became one of the most healing tools that they had. And honestly, I believe that. I've talked about that in my previous videos, because grief often makes us focus on the ending, but journaling helps preserve the life. And here's the truth that no one really prepares us for. One day there will be a last time. There will be a last walk, a last cuddle, and the last time that they wait for you at the door. And we usually don't recognize those moments while they're happening. And that's why this, bucket list matters. Not to create fear of the unknown, not to create or focus on future sadness, but just to wake us up, because your pet's life is happening right now. And love is not measured by how devastated we are after loss. Love is measured by presence while they are here. So what I want to ask you is, what's one thing on your pet parent bucket list? Maybe it's more adventures. Maybe it's slowing down. Maybe it's finally, taking those more videos and capturing those moments. Maybe it's just simply being more present. Whatever it is, make a commitment and follow through on it, and share it in the comments. And if you've already lost a beloved pet, what's one memory that you're most grateful that you captured? Because sharing this, your story may help another pet parent, treasure today what they have more deeply. And if this video has touched your heart, please subscribe to Next Level Pets. And if you know of anyone that is struggling with pet loss grief, feel free to visit my website at www.nextlevelpets.love. Because this channel exists for people who don't see pets simply just as animals, but we see them as family, as teachers, as soul companions, and together we're just learning how to love them more intentionally while they're here, and also to heal with purpose, when they've left our lives. So love your pet, please, so fully that one day grief has no choice but to become gratitude. Thank you.